Celestia, I hope Chase can finally win this weekend. What the?
It's Freaky Friday, and you're lucky contestant number 1.
What? This isn't my race shop? How in the... Continuum. Freedom warned me about him, and I didn't listen, and then I took Freedom's sandwich when he wasn't looking.
Oh, God, not again. Continuum! What? Stop interrupting other people's channels! Well, since the Season 7 opener was different from the previous 6 seasons, I thought you might like to try something different. And you can't go home until you're done.
Fine. Hey there, I'm MrLeftTurn, and this isn't my favorite race shop.
I wonder if I could get back to my channel by borrowing one of Lefty's cars.
Freedom!
Oh, right, the review. Hello everybody, my name is Freedom Flash, and today I'll be giving my overinflated and channel-inverted opinion of the Season 7 premiere, forcibly co-hosted by MrLeftTurn. And while this is all Continuum's fault, he does have a point. This season opener is unique in the fact that it is the first so far not to be a two-parter.
Yep. It's also unique in the fact that there is no actual villain to defeat or magical threat that could take over or destroy Equestria or the Crystal Empire. While those were the norm for 6 years, I quite welcome this change for a more slice-of-life story that picks up shortly after Season 6 ended.
And speaking of Season 6, it's nice to see things carry over. Trixie's somewhat antagonistic relationship with Discord in particular. The changelings are plainly just as new to the friendship as they were previously, if now much more open to the idea.
I also like how we see Equestria has its own version of the Medal of Honor, and that we see Starlight, Trixie, Discord, and Thorax receiving these for their heroics. It also leads to a pretty cute scene of Luna dealing with Thorax's large antlers. And as a little side note, I do appreciate that Thorax mentioned that, although the changelings are coming along, leading a kingdom wasn't easy, instead of just brushing it off and saying that everything is going great.
Still don't know how she fit that medal over them. Impossible physics aside, it's nice to see Discord being as Discord as he ever was. Still causing chaos, but now as a force for good. Sort of. He's being antagonistic, but while still prompting Twilight into action. This is the good side of chaos, as a force of change to avoid stagnation. It is awesome to see the writing get this clever, especially given what it leads to.
Alright, the one thing literally everyone is talking about, this was one of Celestia's largest roles in the entire show. Better late than never, right, Freedom? But I really loved how they handled her here, like a normal character. Throughout the show, we've known she's a princess, a teacher at her own school, and a very powerful and wise alicorn. However, this time, she was a trustworthy and wise source of advice for Twilight to turn to, even years after she's completed her tour as Celestia's student. In this episode, we got to see why Twilight admires Celestia so much, and for the first time, I saw Celestia as more than a princess with only a few wise sayings or a mentor. I saw her as someone I could talk to about anything. While I'm not a Celestia fanatic, I do enjoy her character, but I loved the development we got with her, and I hope we get more this season and the next.
Oh god yes, this was glorious. It was good to see Celestia being, for want of a better word, human, as opposed to some lofty figurehead of our unparalleled wisdom. She's shown here to be a person. It's like the taste we got from Gauntlet of Fire 100-fold. But, cutting myself off before I go on a tirade, there is a second Alicorn princess who we need to discuss. A certain frantic-minded Alicorn who has spent the last 6 minutes fantasizing about her own worst nightmares. And on that subject, I'll remind you that Twilight is imagining this scene between Starlight and Ember. And it's hilarious.
I never thought I would ever want to hear Starlight talking like a skater bro or chest bumping someone, but I'll take it. Plus, Spike's commentary was spot on. And you know, it's really interesting to actually see Twilight's imagination running this wild instead of witnessing her losing her mind like in Lesson 0. Now, back to Celestia. I think my favorite part of this whole episode, other than Celestia commenting on how she didn't know she was an expression, was her flashback story she was telling Twilight. Again, Spike's commentary was simply amazing, but it was nice to see Celestia teaching in her school for once, and the ever-adorable filly Twilight in her class. More specifically though, that shot of Celestia on top of the mountain overlooking Canterlot and the valley below was absolutely gorgeous, and it's one thing that really stuck in my mind after the episode was over. It also led me to wonder if Celestia goes there often to think, maybe it's her own personal Dagobah? But I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed seeing Celestia having to struggle with herself and come to the conclusion that it's time for Twilight to leave. Even though it was a short story, it was drenched with development for Celestia.
Right in the warm fuzzies. But it occurs to me that we've been very heartfelt thus far, so now it's time for some comedy.
I mean, when has Twilight not had a plan?
Around 80% of the time.
That's gotta be some cockroach.
3, 2, 1. What if they become too ambitious?
She literally ripped a hole in time. How ambitious is she gonna get? What, she'll rip open a second hole and make a never-ending Ferris wheel of death?
I can't just send her off to Celestia knows where without thinking it through.
I was not aware that I was an expression.
You have been hanging around for how long again? Seriously? Not once in 1,000 years did you accidentally run into this phrase.
Oh no, what should we do? Attack! The winner gets to choose!
Huh, the fourth Hunger Games book is a bit more literal than I would have thought.
I will say one thing for this episode. It's the first season opener that's not a two-parter, has no villain, and it's also the record holder for the most tears in a single episode. Seriously. They tear up 6 times in 6 different places. Hey, hold on, we do the jokes here, no blooper Oh, this is part of the episode. Part of the end, actually, because Twilight has figured out what to do and has officially graduated Starlight from her tutorage. Which is interesting. Don't get me wrong, it feels like the right thing to do, but I sort of expected it to last longer. It took Twilight 3 seasons to graduate from under Celestia, but then I suppose Twilight's experience combined with Starlight's guilt makes for a fast learning curve. Wrapping this off quickly for me, I really like the gift Twilight gave to Starlight at the end. That mirror has to be the most exuberantly friendship-orientated object in the show not to be saccharine as hell. Bloody brilliant. And it's this point that rounds this off for me as one of my favourite episodes ever.
Call me a nerd if you wish, but I can see a familiar sight in Twilight and Starlight's student-teacher relationship here. Even though a teacher may have nothing left to teach their student, it doesn't mean that the student is done if they don't feel like they are. Kind of like how Luke Skywalker wanted to complete his training with Yoda in Return of the Jedi, but the Master claimed he had nothing left for Luke to learn. And I can see the similarities of Yoda and Twilight having nothing left to teach Luke or Starlight. The next step in their lives for their students would be difficult, with Luke confronting his father who was on the dark side, and Starlight having to be sent away to spread her own learnings to others, but luckily Starlight wanted to stay, so we didn't have to go through that. If you already couldn't tell, Celestial Advice was a phenomenal season opener with good jokes, heartfelt moments, great development for Celestia, and took a look at how special a teacher-student relationship is. Celestial Advice well deserves the first green flag episode of Season 7.
Okay, now we move on to the next episode, wherein... Hold it. What? We blew through the budget on the first episode, you're gonna have to keep this brief.
Budget? What budget? Making these reviews is free!
The intellectual budget. You guys are literally running out of ideas, you lost almost a quarter of what's left coming up with this mini-skit.
So wait, we have to sprint to the finish? I'm in.
Oh god, this is gonna be bad, okay. This episode is basically one big metaphor about concealing your emotions from other people, literally bottling up your anger until it finally bursts out and does some real damage. Although Starlight's an interesting case. Her magic is so closely tied to her emotions that her anger literally manifests itself as a blood-red cloud over her head. The closest thing we've seen to something like this before now is the old Twilight setting herself on fire. But judging from the rarity of that event, either Twilight has much better control, or Starlight has been angry at Trixie for a while now and it's finally bubbling up to the surface.
Well, at least this was used to further develop Starlight and Trixie's friendship. Up until this point, things have been pretty much smooth sailing for them. Not counting to where I'm back again, but I'll let them slide on that. It was good to see their friendship hit a bit of a rough patch with Starlight not telling Trixie what the problem is, which continuously made things worse until it pretty much blew up in front of them. But I did like how Pinky's baking lessons from every little thing she does have stuck with Starlight.
Speaking of Pinky, the main 6 make a nice counterweight in this episode, because while Starlight and Trixie are at home being dysfunctional, the others are out working as a perfect team. And singing.
I think my favorite part of All Bottled Up is Starlight's meta joke about the main 6 breaking out into song together, which actually came true and cost them the record time for solving puzzles in that room in Manhattan. While I did like the song, the joke kept it from feeling forced because the activity operator acknowledged that they sang a song.
I agree, I can't wait to hear the remixes that come from that song. But that's still only my second favourite thing in the episode, because the first is, and forever will be, Nutcart.
My nut card!
Just listen to it.
My nut card!
Glorious.
My my nut card!
Yes, that was glorious, but don't forget that that mutated teacup is still loose in Ponyville. It's probably shacking up with that mutated orange thing from Season 3. You know, Discord should adopt those guys and give them a home.
And cut! That's it. Creative juices officially spent. Time to go home.
Ugh, I don't think I'll ever get used to that.
Oh, you don't have to. It won't stop me doing it. About time. Well, that farce is over. Lefty, you want to do the honors?
Well, now that I'm back in my favorite race shop, what did you think of our season openers? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Freedom, for reviewing with me. I'm MrLeftTurn. I'll see you when I get back from the track.